Good afternoon, everyone. And as was said, I'm Jeremy Springall. I run the border management business of SITA. And my aim over the next 15 minutes is to give you a glimpse of the future, because the way we all travel is changing. Before I do that, I just want to very quickly introduce SITA to you, for those of you that are not aware of us. SITA is the IT provider to the global aviation and border management industries. We serve airlines, airports, and critically governments, because governments enable that international travel through having effective, secure, and in the future, seamless borders to enable you to manage the security of your borders and equally create national prosperity for your governments, your countries. SITA really is a global organization. We operate pretty much in every country around the world. We're present at over 1,000 airports around the world. We work with over 80 governments on their border management solutions. And we're also very proudly based and have many locations, over 40 office locations in Africa. Africa is a very important market to us, and as an example, here in South Africa, we've been supporting the South African government with their border solutions, and particularly around advanced passenger processing, for well over 10 years. They put our systems in readiness for the World Cup in 2010. So as I said, I'd like to give you a glimpse of the future. And to do that, what I'd like, if I may, is to ask you to think about your journey here to Cape Town. What was it like to apply for entry into the country? What was your experience like as you made your journey? And how did you feel when you reached the border and crossed into the country? And I'd also like you to imagine a world where you can travel from anywhere to everywhere without ever needing a physical travel document. One where you can literally step across the border without needing to queue at immigration. And one where every step in your journey is seamless. Now that vision of seamless travel is something that the industry has been talking about for many years, but it's now with us now. You know, it's available and can start being delivered today. And really that's being driven, this demand for seamless travel, is being really driven by a number of things. First of all, we're seeing ever-growing numbers of travelers. So here in Africa, we are going to see over the next 10 years, 10 to 12 years, a doubling of the number of people using air travel. So you need to consider in your countries what impact that's going to have at your airports and at your borders. So handling that huge additional volume of travelers coming into your country. Secondly, the travelers themselves are equally demanding this. We do a survey each year of passengers, and that survey shows that over 7 out of every 10 passengers is more than comfortable using a digital identity linked to their biometrics if it's going to help them with that seamless journey. Thirdly, the industry itself is really keen to adopt this technology. Airlines, airports want to reduce fraud, and they want to provide a differentiated service to their passengers. So again, when we survey airlines, over 75% of airlines are planning to adopt a digital identity solution by the end of next year. So this is happening now in the industry, and all countries, particularly in Africa, need to be ready to be able to support those digital identities. And finally, it's important for you as governments to really be able to manage those travelers coming into those countries. You need to be able to pre-clear travelers before they even start their journey. And that will help you manage that national security and improve national prosperity. Now, we've spoken, I think, quite a lot over the last 2 days around technologies. I'd like to share with you really the key technologies that we're looking at within the travel market and the travel sector. The first really critical technology is being driven by ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization. They're the international body that are responsible for defining the standards for your passports, your e-passports that we all use today. And they have developed the standard for what is called the digital travel credential, the digital version of your passport that you can be able to use and store within a wallet on your phone. And critically, those digital travel credentials are authenticated against the public key directory of ICAO in the same way your e-passport is today. So it's a trusted, recognized document that can be used by all states around the world. Now, in order to use that digital travel credential in your wallet, we need to be able to enable a privacy-preserving and a very secure way for the traveler to verify that credential as part of their journey. If you, again, think about your journey here to Cape Town, you touch many, many different stakeholders and different points of contact as you make your journey. And each of them needs to be able to verify you and your digital identity. And we're talking about operating globally. So I mentioned earlier, SITA is present over 1,000 airports around the world. How do we enable this digital identity to be usable, verifiable across the world? And the final technology that we're involved in, clearly, is biometrics. Now, biometrics are the way of us linking that digital identity with your physical identity. They enable us to provide that seamless journey. So I'm going to take you through an example of a project that we are in the midst of at the moment. We're working with many governments, many airlines, and many airports around the introduction of the digital travel credential. One great example is one of the major airlines in Africa, Royal Air Maroc, and we're working with them to introduce a digital identity linked to a digital travel credential that can be used for travel around the world, and particularly across Africa. So to do that, I'm going to tell a bit of a story. Now, it's a fictitious story set in the future. And the main character in that story is Omar. Now, Omar lives in Rabat in Morocco, and he's a frequent traveler. And he's planning a trip to Cape Town. In fact, he's planning a trip to ID4AFRICA. And he's a little worried about his journey, because the last time he came to Cape Town, it wasn't a great experience for him. If you think about your journey here and those different steps you had to make around that journey experience. But he's heard now he can use a digital service. So let's see what that looks like. So first of all, Omar needs to apply for entry into the country. And he can do that using a mobile ETA. So we're really looking at adoption of electronic travel authorities to enable that free movement of people. And he does that, first of all, by creating a digital travel credential, which you've just seen being done. He then takes a selfie to verify, and himself is the holder of that document. He completes his ETA questionnaire, and very rapidly, at home, can receive his authority to enter into South Africa. So a really simple and easy to use way for that traveler into your country. Now, this is available today. That solution is currently in use in Australia and is the basis of the ETA solution into Australia itself. So Omar's now got his authority to come into South Africa. He's booked his flight, and now he's going to check in. So what does that look like? So again, he's able to do this from home using his mobile in the way he does today. But importantly, instead of having to key in his advanced passenger information, He can now submit his digital travel credential to the airline. The airline can then send that to the government of South Africa. And now South Africa have been using our advanced passenger processing solution for over 10 years now. And he can get a confirmation back from the government of South Africa that he can check in for his flight. And the government can also risk assess him to pre-clear him for his travel. So he's now at home. We've now pre-cleared him before he even started his journey. So we can now enable that seamless journey. Now, importantly, what he's also done at the point of check-in is that he's selected to share his biometrics and his digital identity with other stakeholders in that journey. So he's sharing it with the outbound airport, the government, and the destination airport and government. So again, let's look how Omar's experience changes. So again, he's now arriving at Rabat Airport in Morocco. He's using a self-service bag drop solution. He's purely recognized using his biometrics, so no need to share any physical travel documents. He can drop off his bag. He can go through security. He can go through border control. And he can board his flight purely using his face as his digital and seamless experience. So he's having a much more happier journey now. And he's on his way to Cape Town. And on arrival in Cape Town, he's able to again just step across the border because the government's already pre-cleared him. They already know he's coming, and we just need to prove his identity using biometrics. But Omar's journey doesn't stop at the border. Omar wants to enjoy Cape Town, enjoy the facilities that his hotel wants to offer. So that digital travel credential can now be used whilst he's in your country. So in this case, Omar is arrived at his hotel. He's staying in the West Inn, opposite us over here. And again, the hotel is offering him a self-service experience to check in for his hotel. He shares his digital travel credential, and in return, they've offered him a room key that will sit in his mobile wallet as well. And then he can use, again, that same digital experience through the hotel itself. And as you can see there, he's had a much more relaxing journey into Cape Town since the last time he travelled. A few really key points for me, and I think we've touched on this with a number of the speakers. First of all, clearly this needs to be a very secure solution. And we absolutely believe that Omar needs to be in control of his own information, his own data. So the information related to Omar, his digital travel credential, his personal information is held by him in his wallet of his mobile phone. So it's privacy preserving. But importantly, it also needs to enable selective disclosure, because what Omar wants to be able to do is use that same credential for multiple purposes. So when he's crossing the border, the government will want all of the information related to his passport, his digital travel credential. But if he's using that digital travel credential to maybe buy something at duty free, the retailer only needs to know he's over a certain age. They don't even need to know his date of birth. So selective disclosure is really important to enable this experience. And finally, it needs to be a trusted source of information. It needs to be government grade. It needs to be able to be trusted by governments. And it equally needs to be trusted by airlines, airports, hotels, retailers, his end-to-end journey in that way. And again, because his identity is anchored to his digital travel credential and authenticated by the ICAO Public Key Directory, we can enable that as a trusted document for use around the world. Now, I've just got a couple of last reflections, really, in terms of Africa itself, because we really believe that the introduction of digital travel and the use of digital travel credentials can enable Africa to unlock travel and tourism for the whole continent. You can balance your need to protect your borders from national security, because we can pre-clear travellers before they even arrive, and equally open up your borders to enable trade and tourism into your country, creating national prosperity. So it's absolutely key for your growth. Secondly, it's very secure, it's safe, and as we've just seen, it's very seamless. We're using a digital travel credential, but we're linking it with the passenger's biometrics to enable that seamless journey. Now, in many ways, Africa actually has an advantage compared with other parts of the world. Some of the legacy systems that many countries have in place to manage their borders, you can actually leapfrog. You can move to a fully open digital solution at your borders. Mobile technology is very, at a very high use across Africa, and the solution requires very minimal infrastructure. We're no longer needing to go back and have your data held in central databases, in government offices. It's held by the traveller in their wallet. And finally, that digital credential used for travel can also be used for many other purposes. For that traveller to enjoy your country and to get the benefit from those tourists. So hopefully that's given you a really good, interesting understanding of the future. I am personally really excited around what this is going to provide in terms of our travel experience in the future. And if you've got any questions, then please put them on Slido, and I'm sure we're going to have that discussion, or come and visit us at our booth in the exhibition area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy, for the excellent presentation and sharing the technological solution that your company is proposing. The solution that you are sharing entails interoperability between different governments and ID system. Can you share with us what is the interoperability framework that you're adopting so that the African government can follow those procedures and use the solution that you're proposing?
Yeah, so as explained, the core credential we're using is the digital travel credential defined by ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization. Mm-hmm. So, and because of that, it's trusted by every government in the world, mm-hmm. and can be authenticated against the ICAO public key directory. And then what we're using is verifiable credential technology, which is an open standard, uses based on open source data or open source software to enable us to then share and use that data and verify that credential as we make the journey.
Thank you. One of the concerns of many governments, including of Mozambique, the country that I'm representing here, it's privacy of the citizen. We know that around the world we do have the Budapest Convention and the Malabo Convention when it comes to protection of data, but we don't have a global convention for data privacy. What legal instrument internationally that are using to guide the process of privacy and also security of the citizens?
Yeah, so absolutely. So data privacy is absolutely critical to the use of these sort of solutions. SITA operates, as I said, in pretty much every country around the world. So we need to know the data privacy requirements from each of those countries. And we need to deliver solutions that enable your citizens to safely visit those countries and understand what those data privacy standards are in those sort of areas. So the solution needs to be very flexible and be open. We touched a little bit with my colleague from Canadian Banknote Company around the governance model, and the governance of the verifiable credential ecosystem is going to be really key to really make sure we're managing that data privacy.
Yes, and another dimension also that's related to data because it's of concern it's the concept of data sovereignty. What is the technological architecture that you're adopting that will also give back to the countries this dimension of data sovereignty when it comes to their respective citizens?
Yeah.
My question is, technically, is to understand if this is an interoperable system or it's an integrated system that the data of the citizen are being stored in another country or another jurisdiction.
So, again, the core solution really puts the traveller in control of their own data. So the core data, the core information about him, his digital travel credential is stored in his wallet. So he's managing his own sovereign data. Obviously, the anchor of that credential is the digital passport. It is the digital travel credential. So now that will mean that some governments will hold that information like they do hold your e-passport information today or your other passport information today as well. So, but the key here is to make sure the passenger is in control of their own data and their own sovereignty.
Yes, one of the issues that we didn't touch in this conversation this morning on the solution is cybersecurity. We know there's no, and one of the topics that you shared is security and secure solution. But we know that there's no 100% security. All the systems have some level of security. My question is, how is your organization ready to share the incident response when it happened with the relevant authority in the country where the citizen is coming from or is going to when he is traveling? We know that there are many national cybersecurity incident response teams. Do you have mechanisms to share and also support these countries to address those kind of challenges?
Yeah, so obviously cybersecurity is absolutely critical to this. Now, to some extent, we're using now verifiable credential technology, which, as I said, means that the traveller is holding their own data in their own wallet, in a secure, encrypted wallet. And we're not in a position where every one of those stakeholders is holding your personal information in some central database, which clearly increases the risk of a security point of view. So inherently, the solution does enable that. And I think from a SITA point of view, just to conclude, we are, as I said, operating across this industry for over 75 years now. And a key part of what we do is around cybersecurity and managing the data of travellers around the world. We really orchestrate the movement of every traveller journey touches our system. So we take cybersecurity incredibly seriously. Yes.